KLW's on the front line through the battles and the pains, with a camera in the fray and the world on our screens. We're the voice of the silence, the witness of the scenes. Headlines flashing bright, from the shadows we arise, with the truth in our hands under perilous skies. Every story told is a battle we fight. Through the darkness and the fear, we bring the light. In the chaos, in the flames, we'll stand tall, with the courage to reveal through the rise and the fall. From the embers of the war to the echoes of the call, we're the eyes of the world and we'll never stall. KLW, we're the warriors on the front lines. Through the blood and the fire, we'll define the times. In the heat of the battle, where the truth lies, we're the voice of the war and the world will find. From the ruins and the wreckage, every story's told. Through the tears and the heartbreak, the bravery unfolds. In the darkest hours, when the world's torn apart, KLW brings the stories straight from the heart. With the cameras rolling through the wreckage and the pain, we capture the reality while the world remains. Every angle, every moment in the line of fire, we're the pulse of the battlefield, never to tire. KLW, we're the warriors on the front lines. Through the blood and the fire, we'll define the times. In the heat of the battle, where the truth lies, we're the voice of the war and the world will find. KLW, we're the warriors on the front lines. Through the blood and the fire, we'll define the times. In the heat of the battle, where the truth lies, we're the voice of the war and the world will find. Through the smoke and the ruins, we'll pierce the veil. With every breath we take and every tale, we're the heartbeat of the conflict in the shadowed frail. With KLW's vision, the truth won't fail. Stand firm, we're the beacon in the fray. Through the dust and the fury, we'll light the way. In the fight for the truth, where the heroes lay. KLW, the story's here to stay. KLW, we're the warriors on the front lines. Through the blood and the fire, we'll define the times. In the heat of the battle, where the truth lies, we're the voice of the war and the world will find. So here's to the courage and the tales we unfold. In the heart of the conflict, our story's told. KLW, with the truth we hold. In the fire of the war, our legacy bold.
You can't handle the truth!
KLW World News coming to you live today from the, well, how should we say, retired Nike missile site here in the Everglades of Florida. And we're going to show you around here a little bit. Then we're going to get a little bit more into it. So in 1962, one of the missiles, like you see the one before you, were used to guard the United States against attack from our adversaries. They had two different versions of missile at this facility. One used a conventional warhead to take down high-altitude bombers. Again, these were defensive weapon systems. And then in the event of a massive nuclear strike, well, they could actually launch a nuclear warhead on top of one of these missiles. Now, there were 4 different sites around southern Florida. I think the gentleman told me earlier it was 68 different missiles that they had. Now, why is this relevant now? Well, the U.S. has discovered that the Russians have opened a Navy base in Cuba. And that Navy base is housing a Russian frigate with hypersonic nuclear-tipped missiles. So it's a modern-day version of the Cuban Missile Crisis all over again. Additionally, the Russians have moved nuclear submarines with nuclear missiles on them, and they've patrolled as well as docked in Cuba here recently. Now, we've also heard that Trump wants to do the Golden Dome. Well, actually, back in 1962, I believe, when this was created. This was kind of a, how should we say, pre-Golden Dome. This was to protect the United States from nuclear attack. And so we're going to show you this. We're going to give you some details of it, and we're going to show you how this is in relationship to what's actually happening again today. So we're here at Everglades National Park. We'd like to thank the park and their personnel for allowing us to be here today. And what you're looking at is actually a relic of the Cold War. The Everglades National Park houses one of the best preserved relics of the Cold War in Florida, a historic Nike missile site. This is dubbed HM69, and well, it started in 1962, specifically October, and the site was terminated in 1979. And this was our protection against nuclear missiles back then. So the area includes 22 buildings. The structures, they had guard dogs here. And originally, when this was opened on October 14th, 1962, well, actually, that's when the Cuban Missile Crisis began, when an American U-2 spy plane flying a reconnaissance mission over Cuba photographed Soviet missiles at a site in Cuba. The next day, President Kennedy was informed of the presence of the missile capability and delivering nuclear warheads to major U.S. cities with the potential of killing millions of Americans in a matter of just minutes. Throughout the Cold War, the United States air defense has been poised only to defend against attack from the Soviet Union's nuclear missiles that would be coming in from over the North Pole. Well, then we had the Cuban Missile Crisis, which basically changed everything. So in late October 1962, the U.S. Army's 2nd Missile Battalion, the 52nd Air Defense Artillery, was deployed in the middle of the night, not knowing their final destination. The 2nd Missile Base was made up of 4 batteries, each consisting of a battery commander and approximately 150 men. 2 batteries were set up in tent encampments just outside the entrance to this park. The heat and the humidity made it a struggle to maintain sensitive electronics, while frequent rains turned the facilities into basically mud pits. So the U.S. came up with this system of placing these missiles here, actually in 4 separate sites here in southern Florida, to protect the southern part of the U.S. from bombers flying in. This is not a counter missile battery. So the difference between the Golden Dome that Trump wants to build now and what we are seeing before us is this is made for shooting down high altitude bombers, whereas at the Golden Dome is made for shooting down missiles. Now we're going to show you here. This is some of the plaques. Oops, that is not what we wanted. This is what we wanted. My apologies. So this is a overhead view of what the launch complex looked like. We're actually parked right here where it says "You are here," and we're parked across the front of the facility here. And they've got a great display down here. Now, we're not going to go inside and show you all of the great things that we have inside or they have inside. We encourage you to come down and see the facility for yourself. This is a great relic of the Cold War. This is our new spooky cam. So here is the Nike Hercules missile. And what we wanted to show you is basically how these were deployed. I'm going to walk out here and do that. So basically, they have like a railroad track. Now, what you would see is off to the side here were the missiles, the missile launchers themselves. And the launcher was permanently affixed and the missiles were stored inside the building, just like you see here. And they had basically a railroad track that this would ride on, and it would come out, and then when it would get out here, hydraulically, they would reach down and pick up the missile and put it up. This would allow them to take the missiles on and off the launchers as they needed to be repaired or done maintenance or testing of them. There were 3 missiles at each one of these sites. Now, some of the missiles were nuclear-tipped missiles. Some of the missiles were conventional anti-aircraft missiles. So high altitude, we're talking 40,000 feet, 50,000 feet capability. And these missiles, it's a 2-stage type of rocket. You've got the first rocket would boost it up for, I want to say, hundreds of feet and get it to a high velocity. And then the second motor would kick in and the missile would continue on its way. These were also radar guided. So we don't know the exact number of nuclear missiles that were here, or nuclear tipped missiles as opposed to a conventionally tipped missile. But these were somewhat of an early version of a Golden Dome. So we encourage you all to come down here to Everglades National Park, have a look at this beautiful display that these guys work diligently with every single day to maintain it and preserve it so as that you can learn more of the Cold War history. So we want to thank you for joining us here this afternoon. Hope you have enjoyed the broadcast. We've got plenty more for you. We're going to NASA. We've got other facilities that we're going to be visiting while we're here in Florida. But we wanted you to learn about the Nike Hercules missile, which was a very early version of a Golden Dome. However, it was made to stop nuclear bombers, not nuclear missiles. Thanks for joining us, folks. We will see you later tonight for our usual news broadcast. Have a great day.